Hey there, my name is Shawn, and you're watching Heroes of on YouTube. I'm currently trying to do my video tonight so that I can set you guys up with some good entertainment, but I'm having to take care of this rugrat and that rugrat. And they did a big mess on the floor while we were eating, so now all that's delayed. So I figured I'd just start like this. So this is what we're doing. Today we're going to be talking about the struggles of starting a new campaign and a new system. I have played 3.5 most of my life. Early on I played 2nd edition, but I am new to 5th edition. And so a lot of the things that I thought we could talk about would be the changes between 3.5 and 5th edition. I ran quite a many campaign in 3.5, very used to that system. Have mostly all the books. I think I'm missing a couple of them. Probably books I didn't really want to have anyways. But if I don't have those missing books, I'm sure one of the other heroes do. Between the 5 of us, I think we have probably every single role-playing book published. Maybe not the riffs, but that doesn't matter. Anyways, I digress. So what I'd like to talk about were the changes between 3.5 and 5th edition. So one of the main things that I wanted to start this off with was that we, as a group, have a logo. Mike, one of the heroes, he designed a nice logo for us with the part of the ampersand from D&D in it, with our big bold black H. You've probably seen it on the channel. And Jack, one of the other heroes, he's the one who made the video of DM searching for a new group. Well, he wrote and created our theme song. Oh, she's so sad. Her ball over there. Oh no, Daddy, my ball. He created the theme song "Darkness Visible," and I really like it. I think it's really kind of retro, and it's got a really good feel to it. So I'm going to cut this video short, and then I'll hopefully piece it together with another video later when I have more time to record more. Bye. So one of the main aspects that I wanted to do this episode was to talk about how different is 5th from 3.5. And most people know that it's hugely different. One of the things that I'm doing is, as I'm a new DM, I'm having to discover these differences. Oh my God, look at this little girl. I'm having to discover these differences as I'm learning about the system. So one of the things I thought we'd talk about right now is proficiencies and saves. Proficiency is a locked number that changes as you go up in level. So it might start out at 2 and then go up to 3, eventually 4, 5, 6. So the higher level you go up, the better your proficiency number is. Proficiency is something that's used in determining your skill, your attack, and your saves. There might be a couple other things there too, but the basic idea of it is that you take your proficiency and then you add it to your ability modifier. So for attack, you have your proficiency number, which used to be base attack bonus. You would take that and then you add it to your attack. So if you're ranged, you add it to dexterity. If you're melee, you add it to your strength modifier. Now there are some rules changes where you can actually add your dexterity to a melee weapon, depending if it's a finesse weapon. Oh, there's another one stuck behind the door. Oh, look at those two cuties. So yeah, proficiency is the difference. Before you'd have base attack bonus and skill points to put into your skills, and then ability modifiers would kind of add on to either those base attack bonus or the skill points. But now it's all really uniform in this one proficiency number, which is neat and tidy, but also not as versatile as 3.5. Okay, gotta go. The other part that has to do with this change in proficiency is also saving throw. So saving throw, like I said earlier, proficiency bonus takes, or proficiency modifier changes skill and attack, spell attack, which is also different. But saving throws are now no longer 3 stats of reflex, fortitude, and willpower, but there are 6 stats, your actual ability stats. So strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. So your proficiency bonus is added on to those abilities that you are proficient in. So a fighter might be proficient in strength and dexterity or strength and constitution, whereas a wizard might be more proficient in wisdom and intelligence. Depending on your background and the class you take, you will be proficient in one or two of those saving throws. So you add your ability modifier, like normal, and you just add it to your proficiency modifier, which is the new thing. So one of the other things I found was very interesting change was the change in background. In 3.5, you could kind of create your own background through storyline and origin story, and then pick skills and weapons and stuff that really kind of complement that. Here they kind of make it so that you can pick a background and then say, oh, I was a sailor or I was a cobbler, and here are the skills and stuff that... Here... Hey, how's it going? So, I'm back. The kitties are finally asleep, which is great. They were crazy tonight. I have the baby monitor here in case I'm needed or in case one of them freak out. So I figured that we'd finish this video finally. I think when we were talking last, we were talking about backgrounds. Yeah, so backgrounds, I really like backgrounds. I think that it's a neat idea to be able to have something tangible when you say, oh, I grew up, my character grew up working for a blacksmith. So then you could say that you take a background that fits that, and then you have skills or tools that go along with that. In 3.5, you used to have to kind of pick your own skills and kind of cater your character a specific way to be able to do that. One of the things that this is kind of really for is a new character or a new player who doesn't really know how to work the system and wants to say, I was a sailor before. Well, then there's a background they can pick for that. One of the other things that I like about it is that I'm 41. I've been playing D&D or role-playing games since I was 14, since that very, very first time that my buddy Gaetan Lalone invited me over to his place for a weekend of role-playing for D&D. I didn't even know it was. We played all Friday night, and then that Friday night, I remember specifically having dreams of rolling dice. And then I woke up the next morning and I was rabid. I was ravenous. I couldn't. Let's play more. Let's play right now. Screw eating. Who cares about food? Let's play. I had played a cleric. It was AD&D 2nd edition. Played a cleric named Santori. And ever since then, I couldn't get enough of it. So I've played a lot since I was 14. I've played a lot of characters, a lot of systems. And once you've made so many characters, played so many characters, you start to run out of ideas. And the background allows you to kind of have the onus of creating an interesting character kind of away from you. You can pick your background, and then the ideas and the ideals and the flaws and all that stuff are kind of there to help you come up with something. And even for someone who's experienced like me, it's kind of nice to not really have to think about it too much. You just want to play. Let's just make a character. That I think that's a really good shortcut to being able to have to create a whole backstory. I mean, if you want to create a whole backstory, it's great. You can do that, but this is not a nice kind of shortcut to that too. Sometimes you just want to get to the playing. So yeah, backgrounds in my head are really cool. Like I said, I've made characters before. I've made several different 5th edition characters, and so I've used those before. It'll be interesting to see what the players do in our Dragon Heist game. What else do we have here? Yeah, so let's talk about ability modifiers. So the ability mods and abilities. So there's a ability cap now of 20. So you can't really go higher than 20. One of the things that I found funny was that I have a character in the Heroes of Cathar game, which is actually what this channel is named after. He's a monk, and he's got like a dexterity of 28, something ridiculous like that, and it's great to have that. But it makes sense that it's a little overpowered. I get it. Like, I get why you don't want to have your abilities to go too high. It makes sense. One of the things that we've found out is that even though the player characters can't go higher than a stat of 20, obviously the bad guys can. opponents, the NPCs. So it's that's a little weird. That normally it's if it works for us, it works for you kind of thing. But I guess it's not like that in this instance. The racial ability modifiers have changed too. Humans used not to get any ability modifier adjustments when making a character at first level, but now they do. They get +1 to everything, or I think there's a variant where you don't necessarily get +1 to everything. And half elves get something now, whereas they used to not get anything before. So that's a little different. What else here? We can talk about inspiration. Inspiration's new. And I feel like inspiration kind of takes over for the action points that came out with the Unearthed Arcana and 3.5. Action points being a little different. Inspiration can be spent to gain advantage on a roll. And advantage, disadvantage is the other thing that is hugely different about this system. The ability to roll 2 20-sided dice and pick the highest if you have advantage or the lowest if you have disadvantage changes. I think it's a game changer. It changes the whole game. You're always looking for a way to gain advantage, or you're looking for a way to shrug off your disadvantage if one's been placed upon you. I'm not going to go through all the different scenarios of how you gain advantage and disadvantage, because I'm not here to teach you a game. I'm just here to tell you my thoughts on what I've researched and what I've found so far. But so far, I really, really like the idea of rolling 2 20-sided dice for ill or for gain. I used to love playing Shadowrun, and that's a handful of dice. So you could give me a handful of D20s. I could have quadruple advantage or disadvantage, and I would roll them all. I as many dice in my hand as possible is the greatest way to go, I think. So the inspiration, which gives you advantage and disadvantage, is awarded now instead of role playing. So in 3.5, you used to be able to get experience points for role playing. So I played my character just right, or I had a really great speech or a good rant that I pulled off, and my DM would reward me with XP in 3.5. But now XP is mainly for defeating opponents and for solving riddles or traps and all those kinds of things. And inspiration is what is used as a means to reward players for good role playing. The other way you can gain inspiration is Bard class is really good at dishing inspiration out to their fellow gamers. The other thing that I noticed that is a huge difference is I haven't noticed anyway so far any prestige classes. It seems like prestige classes are just the subclasses of each class. So where you would have an arcane trickster class before, you'd have to go up in 6 or 7 levels of rogue and gain the necessary requirements, the necessary base attack bonus and requirements, either feat or specific ranks in skill, to be able to take that prestige class of arcane trickster. Now, a 3rd level rogue will specialize in arcane trickster. One of the reasons why I like that is that you could have a party of rogues, and they would all, you can have 3 rogues in your party, and each one of them could be a different kind of rogue. You can have one that's a burglar, one that's an assassin, and one that's an arcane trickster, and they could all have their own use, all be unique and not be so the same. So I like that. I like the subclasses. I haven't really used them too much. Most of the characters that I've played in 5th so far haven't gone up high enough level. I think I've had 2 characters that have gone up high enough level where I was able to take a different path or a different subclass. It'll be interesting as a DM to see what the characters will do as we go up in level, because Waterdeep Dragon Heist goes up to 6th level, so they'll definitely get to their subclasses or their prestiges or their different paths before we're done that campaign module. So it'll be interesting to see what's out there and what's different. We can talk about spells now. Spells. 2 of the things that I've noticed, concentration spells are much more important in 5th edition than they were before. Not that they were more important, they're just more used. So there's a lot more spells that are concentration. So you can't have, for example, a fighter who has had haste, invisibility, bolt strength, and enlarge on them, let's say, and then they go into battle this unstoppable tank. You can't do that anymore. Unless you had 4 separate four separate magic users casting four separate spells, all using concentration on that one person. But you're not going to have a party of four spellcasters with one fighter, though that might be kind of an interesting way to go. The I just mentioned bull strength. What's one of the other things that I noticed in the spells that I don't necessarily think I like is I used to love bull strength and bear's endurance and owl's wisdom and gaining that plus 40 your ability, which means you change your attack by 2 or your damage by 2 if it's bull strength. I used to love that. That was one of my go-to spells that I used to love to either have buffed on me or use to buff other people. And now it's a little different. Bull strength is basically giving someone an advantage on physical actions. So you want to lift that boulder up. Okay, well, I have bull strength on, so I gain advantage on, like we just talked about, advantage, disadvantage. So you gain advantage on those actions. There's not really anything that's bumping any ability modifiers or any ability scores, which is kind of crappy. I much rather it the old way, but I can understand why they did it the way that they did it. About spells as well, cantrips are huge. It's another game changer. It's like advantage disadvantage. It's a game changer having these cantrips. You could be literally a wizard in a dungeon playing over the last 4 sessions, and you haven't had a chance to rest and regain your spells, but you can still cast your firebolt, or your priest still being able to cast Sacred Flame and Spare the Dying, or any of these. Like I played in Jack's 5e campaign that we played over one weekend. It's a Pirates game that he runs. Really fun, super fun game. We played 4 levels over one weekend. It was like D&D Express pretty much. Hardly any role playing, really just combat and trying to figure out how the system works, because none of us had really ever been experienced in 5e. So that weekend was really giving us a taste of what combat was like, what the rules were like, and kind of giving us a crash course on how to play. I played a halfling druid who was kind of more specialized, not really specialized because that's not really a thing with druids, but I concentrated more on water spells. And I made him kind of like a little halfling surfer dude with an angled turtle shell on his back, who he could take out and do surfing maneuvers. But he had always had Shillelagh. No matter what spells I used, I would run out of them, but I always had Shillelagh to use. And it was always a comfort to know that I could always be useful in a fight. A fighter always has his sword. As long as the fighter has a sword or a warhammer, they can always swing and do damage. But when you run out of those spells, you don't have any way that you'd be able to help. But these lower level cantrips, even though they're not much, they do increase when you increase with level. So the higher level you go, a 6th level cantrip ends up being 2d8 or 2d10 or what have you, whatever it is. So they might not seem to be much at first, second, third level, but once you start getting up in level, those firebolts and those sacred flames, they can do some pretty sick damage. It's it's kind of nice. I don't know if it's unbalanced or not. Like I said, I'm not very experienced in 5e. I don't know if it really kind of makes things, the magic users lean on those cantrips more often and not really worry about their other spells much. We'll have to see when we start playing. Feats are an option now, so you can forego your ability increase at 4th or 5th level. I'm not exactly sure when it is, but you can forego your ability increase for a feat. Most of the feats that were like in 3.5 are sort of worked into the classes, so you get some of those things automatically. And the new feats that are in 5e are kind of specialized things like Mage Slayer and Shield Mastery, and I'm not really sure of the other ones, but there's some pretty cool stuff in there. It's just really something as an added flavor to things. So the last thing I think we'll talk about is extra attack. So in 3.5, by the time you became to a 20th level, you would have a shit ton of attacks. You could attack like 5 or 6 times depending, maybe even 7 if you had haste on you. My monk in the Heroes of Acathar game, the one that has the 28 dexterity, he literally has, with his flurry of blows, he has like 5 attacks, I think, 6 if he's got haste. So it's just ridiculous how many times he can hit. And at 18th level that he is, he can hit, plus 28, plus 35, I think. I'm not even sure what the numbers are. I'll post that character sheet on
on Instagram at some point, but his attack is ridiculous. And it's so satisfying to be able to hit that many times. But it also makes combat really, really long when every single person at the table also has 5 attacks. It's it's a long process to roll and then damage and then roll and damage. Or even if you rolled 5 times in a row and then all the damage, it's still a very long process. It really bogs down combat. But in 5e, you could be super powerful and still only have a couple of attacks, right? You get your regular attack plus an extra attack, because if you have the extra attack bonus from your class, like a fighter or a paladin or a barbarian would have, plus maybe if you have haste on you because your friendly wizard has put haste on you, or you have haste boots, but maybe you get an extra attack. But you're not getting too many of them anymore. And then the other thing too is that some of these other classes like druids or wizards or sorcerers aren't getting those extra attacks. So a 20th level wizard doesn't have 3 attacks with his dagger. I always found that was a little lame. They don't need more attacks with a puny weapon. They need more abilities to have more cost to use their spells, which they do. They have a lot of spells available to them. But there's no reason for them to be able to stab with their D4 damage dagger several times. They're not really going to use that weapon very often anyways. So yeah, I like the idea of only certain classes getting the extra attack. It reminds me of Saga Edition. We're playing Star Wars Saga Edition right now, and every character has only 1 attack, unless you take the extra attack feat or double attack feat. So makes sense. It's kind of in keeping with some of the stuff that we're doing right now. So I'm not too confused about that. But I think that's it. Yeah, I think we don't want to make this video too long. It's that's it. So next week is we're gonna start talking about the actual book. We're gonna get into the Waterdeep Dragon Heist book. I'm gonna be telling you what villain I've chosen and what are my preliminary prepping that I've been doing for the actual adventures. That means that any of the other heroes that are watching, Mike, Jay, and Phil, the players that I actually game with, this is the last video for a while that you'll be able to watch, because over the course of the next 7 weeks, I'll be actually diving into the book and talking about some of the stuff that you're not allowed to know about. So if you're watching this right now, which I hope you are, because I want your input on whether it was good or not, I'm telling you now, this is the last one you'll be able to watch. So the only one that we'll be able to watch is Jack. So hopefully Jack will be able to give me some good advice. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for listening. I know it was crazy earlier with the kids and me trying to get this video out, but better late than never. That's what this whole thing is, right? Is being able to do something more than just work. I work full-time. I'm 41 years old now. I want to do something more with my life. And I love role-playing. I've loved it since that weekend at Gaetan Alone's. I just love it. It's, I love my wife. I love my kids. And I love role-playing. And turning role-playing into a hobby is great. It's all fun and all to be able to play weekly, but I just want to share it. And I know that there are a lot of people out there doing it already, and that's great for them, but I want to do it too. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you didn't, leave a comment down on the bottom and tell me what I could change or what I could do differently. And if you did, write a comment telling me you did. All right, take care of yourself, and see you next week.